Windows is everywhere. It's the default OS when you buy a new computer, the safe choice. But here's the thing, safe doesn't always mean better. I've been daily driving Linux for nearly 2 decades now, and after all that time, I can tell you with full confidence, there are things Linux does flat out better than Windows, 7 of them specifically. Privacy that's actually yours, no forced Microsoft account, no hunting for exe files across sketchy websites, limitless desktop customization, just to name a few. But I saved the biggest advantage Linux has over Windows for the last, and trust me, it's going to hit different. This is not a rant, this is receipts. Let's jump right in. Let's start this list off with possibly the biggest advantage Linux has over Windows: privacy. I'll be real with you. Back when I was on Windows, I knew it collected data. I knew it pushed online accounts. I knew it tried to upsell me into every new service Microsoft launched. Copilot being just the latest one. But I didn't know the extent. I really didn't. It's only when I switched to Linux that my eyes actually opened to what was possible, to the alternatives available. And I've been daily driving Linux for nearly 2 decades now. On Linux distros, there's no force to use an online account, no telemetry running by default, no data quietly leaving my machine, no location tracking. I just sat there thinking, wait, this is what an operating system is supposed to feel like. On Windows 11, Home and Pro for personal use requires an internet connection and a Microsoft account just to finish setup. Diagnostic data flows by default. The whole system is built around your online identity. It's like having a spy follow you around all the time. This is really creepy. And with Windows, it's not just a platform for you to get some work done, get some gaming done, watch a movie or something. It's a system that has its own agenda. Yeah, I think that's a very clear way to put it. On Linux, Ubuntu 26.04, Mint, doesn't matter which one you pick, a local account is not a work account, it's the default. And yeah, Ubuntu has its own opt-in telemetry. Fedora has had massive community debates about even considering it. That's the real difference. On Windows, telemetry is part of the operating system. On Linux, telemetry is a controversy. Even the suggestion of data gathering causes a huge debacle, and Linux distros actually listen to the community. Now, I'm not saying Linux solves every privacy problem. Your browser still matters, websites still track you, but Linux starts from a much healthier default. Your computer can actually be yours before it becomes anyone else's data point. And once you see that, you can't unsee. I mean, this is really serious. Number 6, and this one hits close to home for me. My brother had a laptop, perfectly good machine, ran just fine for what he needed, but it was slowing down and Windows 11 wasn't happening on that hardware. So I wiped Windows off and installed Linux Mint, and it started running smooth and nimble. The laptop got another 5 years of life, at least, just like that. That's not a rare story, that's happening all over the world right now. Windows 10 officially hit end of support on October 14, 2025, and Windows 11 has a hard requirement of TPM 2.0 and certain CPU generations. So millions of computers that are completely usable, browsing, document, video calls, media playback, are being told, you're done. Throw your computer in the trash and buy a new one. As someone who genuinely loves computers, that frustrates me deeply because it's not just wasteful, it's unnecessary. We've got one planet, there's no planet B. And in this age of planned obsolescence, seeing perfectly good machines being sent to landfills just because they don't tick a TPM checkbox, that's a real problem, and it's a growing one. Linux doesn't have those walls. It's not just about TPM requirements. You take a 2014 laptop, throw Mint, XFC, Xubuntu or MX Linux on it, and it runs smoothly. The web, LibreOffice, YouTube, all of it works. Linux cannot make old hardware new, but it can stop good hardware from being thrown away before its time. It definitely can extend its life, and in 2026, that matters more than ever. Okay, we have something really cool on number 5, and this is where things get really fun. On my Linux Mint system, I have an extension called Smart Panels installed. It lets me scroll between workspaces right from the panel. It feels completely natural, like it was always supposed to work that way, except it's not the default Mint behavior. I added it with an extension. I also have a clipboard manager applet running that shows me my full clipboard history. Again, not built into Mint, extended by me. And these are just 2 examples. There are thousands more. That's the keyword here, extended. Windows does have customization, wallpapers, accent colors, snap layouts, taskbar tweaks, it's all there. And honestly, for many people, that's enough. I won't pretend otherwise. But there is a ceiling. You can only change what Microsoft has decided you're allowed to change. On Linux, there is no ceiling. Gnome has one of the most powerful extension systems I've ever seen. Blur My Shell gives you that gorgeous frosted gloss effect across the whole desktop. Dash to Dock transforms the workflow entirely. Hundreds more are just one click away. Cinnamon has spices, applets, desklets, actions, extensions. KD Plasma lets you move panels, add widgets, reshape the entire desktop from the ground up. On Windows, the desktop is a product. On Linux, the desktop is a platform, yours to change, yours to tweak, yours to make it truly your own. I mean, when you compare customization on Windows against customization on desktop Linux, actually there's no competition here. The difference between those two things is not a feature gap, I think it's a philosophy gap. Alright, let's move on to number 4, and this one happens before you even install Linux. You got a USB stick. On Windows, that USB stick is an installer. You boot it, you get this minimal wizard that lets you install Windows. You click through the setup wizard and hope for the best. Does your Wi-Fi work? Guess you'll find out after installation. Your touchpad behaves? Let's say after installation. Everything else after installation. Linux does this completely differently. Most major Linux distributions let you boot into a full working desktop straight from the USB. Ubuntu calls it Try Ubuntu. Mint does it, Fedora does it. You boot up, you're in. Browser, file manager, settings, all of it available. You can test your Wi-Fi, check if your audio works, see how the display scaling looks on your screen, open a YouTube video, try the file manager, explore the whole desktop without touching your hard drive even once. There are hundreds of Linux distros and you don't have to install them to try them. Just get the ISO file flashed onto a USB stick and you can test it out on your machine. Like a full-fledged deep dive. Check the workflow, settings, what all options you get, everything without touching your main operating system installed on your computer. This is beyond cool if you think about it. If you like what you see, you install it. If you don't, you shut down, pull the USB out, and your Windows or any other OS is exactly as you left it. This USB option, consider it a first date. And speaking of trying Linux without commitment, let me tell you about something that takes this idea to a whole new level for any desktop Linux user. Not another distro, not another desktop environment, your own VPS. Most people think a VPS is just for developers. It's not though. For a desktop Linux user like you and me who wants to go deeper into Linux, a VPS is the Swiss Army knife of Linux. Your second Linux machine, always on, sitting in the cloud, ready for anything. The one I personally use and recommend is Hostinger, who are also kindly sponsoring this video. Want to try Fedora, Arch, Debian, OpenSUSE all in one day without touching your main system? Spin them up on Hostinger. Want to self-host Nextcloud and replace Google Drive? Run your own OpenClaw or Hermes AI agent or N8N? Host Vault Warden or your own Git server all on one machine, 24/7 accessible from anywhere? Yeah, Hostinger. They even have ready-made one-click deploy templates for the popular stuff like OpenClaw and Remote Ubuntu Desktop. Head over to hostinger.com/LinuxTex and use the code LinuxTex for a sweet discount. Seriously, check it out. Okay, number 3, and I'm going to be very honest with you on this one. The very first time I installed and opened Gnome, I deleted it immediately and went back. No dock, no familiar panel. Application switching was a two-step process and my brain just refused. I didn't get it. When I first came to Linux, I went the Unity route first. We had Ubuntu Unity back then. Then I spent years on Linux Mint Cinnamon Desktop. Only much later did I try Gnome properly. Workspaces, super key, touchpad gestures, all of it, and that changed everything. Here's the thing about Gnome. The super key is everything. Press it to switch between running apps, press it to search apps, settings, files, press super, start typing, and you are instantly where you want to be. No hunting, no clicking through menus, just super, type, go. Then add workspaces, writing in one, research in another, notes in a third. You swipe between them with a 3-finger touchpad gesture, smooth, fast, effortless. This is a very different way of using your computer compared to the bottom panel based app launching and app switching that most operating systems have. But once you lean into this paradigm, your productivity goes through the roof. Trust me on this one. Yeah, very different ways of interacting with your computer, but Gnome keeps you organized. It prescribes a way of using your computer. It is opinionated and you have to give yourself to it. And once you do that, it unlocks a whole new world of productivity. Okay, moving on to the next one. Now, this is something that goes absolutely underappreciated. On Ubuntu, when I want VLC, I open a terminal and type sudo apt install VLC. That's it, done. No browsing for the installer file, no googling download VLC, no installer wizard asking me where to put the files, nothing, just one command. On Windows, installing software can turn into a scavenger hunt. Find the website, hope it's the right one, download the executable, click through the setup wizard, choose the install location, then you're done, if you're lucky. Although they have brought in their own centralized store and stuff. Yep, it's improving. They also have an apt equivalent command now, I think. And here's the part that really matters. Every package in the Ubuntu repository has been tested and verified to work on your exact system. No version mismatches, no dependency conflicts, no tweaking files after the fact. It just works. Especially if you're a developer, this alone is worth switching for. I mean, the testing and verification thing that happens here is big. And beyond apt, Universal formats like Flatpak and Snap extend the same one-click convenience to thousands more apps across every distro. On Linux, software comes to you. You don't go hunting for it. And finally, number one, and this is the one that ties everything else together. I started with Ubuntu like most people. It's the default entry point. Then I moved to Linux Mint for the longest time. Then Fedora, then Arch Linux. I even experimented with NixOS, and through my work, I've had the opportunity to explore a wide range of what this world has to offer. And here's what I realized along the way. Every single one of these distros has a completely different computing philosophy, different package manager, different release model, different desktop environment, different defaults, different community, different priorities, and I could try all of them for free without buying a new operating system, without asking anyone's permission. Yeah, I know, this choice can feel overwhelming at first. Let's not pretend otherwise. I see this every day with Linux newcomers, and that is a big reason I even started this YouTube channel. Ubuntu, Fedora, Mint, Arch, Debian, OpenSUSE, NixOS, Zorin, PopOS, it's a lot. For a Windows user coming in, it can honestly feel like homework. But here's the thing, once you understand the map, that choice becomes the reason you stay. And if that is you right now, just start with Ubuntu. Yeah, want stability? Ubuntu LTS or Linux Mint. Want cutting edge? Fedora or Arch. Want something familiar to Windows? Zorin OS. Want maximum customization? KDE Plasma on anything. The answer exists, you just have to find it. And this is the deeper truth behind everything we talked about today. The privacy, the old hardware revival, the extensions, the live USB thing, the package management. None of that happened because a corporation planned it. It happened because Linux is powered by the community. The goal was never to make money. It was to make something great, something that people enjoyed interacting with every single day. People who genuinely love computers build this. And when you have completely different goals, you end up with a completely different product. That's why Linux is different. That's why once you're in, it's very hard to go back. Alright, there you have it. 7 things Linux simply does better than Windows. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and also leave me a big thumbs up. And definitely check out Hostinger if you haven't already. It is genuinely the easiest and cheapest way to get your own VPS up and running. Spin up any Linux distro you want, self-host Nextcloud, run N8N, host your own AI agents, all from one tiny box that's always on. Head over to hostinger.com/linuxtechs and use the code linuxtechs for a sweet discount. Seriously, give it a shot today. Next up, check out the top 10 best Linux distros of 2026. I got some really cool ones there, and if you are a Linux newcomer or thinking about switching to Linux, this is the video that you absolutely need to watch. Alright, this is Linux Techs signing out.